Hi class, I'm going to go show you a couple websites today that you can use to make color palettes. So the first website that we're going to go to is called Adobe Color, and it's color.adobe.com. color.adobe.com. And what will come up for you is a place where you can use this color wheel to create color palettes for whatever project you might be working on. So when you get here, up in the top bar here, you'll see that Create is selected, and to the left, you'll see that Color Wheel is selected. If you go right underneath Color Wheel, the reason that all of these colors are lined up right next to each other for this palette is because the color harmony that is selected is analogous. So analogous means that all the colors are going to be next to each other on the color wheel. So there's lots of different things you could pick. You could pick monochromatic. That's where you have one color and you have different tints of that same color. You could pick triad, where the wheel is split into thirds and a color is being picked from each third. You could choose complementary. Complementary is where the colors are directly on the opposite ends of the color wheel from each other. There's other ones. Split complementary is where it's a lot like complementary, where you end up with three colors. Okay, so you could pick any of those to get you started. And so let's say that I started out with this color palette that's analogous, and I do want all my colors to be next to each other on the color wheel to start with, but I don't want these purples and pinks. I want it over here in the orange. So I would take this middle circle here and I would spin the colors over to these oranges that I liked. Okay, you can bring them in for something that's more pastel, out for something that's brighter. Now, once you get it to a place that you like it, you can also customize that color palette. So I could grab this really bright orange here, and I could bring it in so that it was more of a pastel. And if I'm like, nope, that is not what I wanted, I can go up here and I can undo that. Oop, this is going to take me a little bit. Get it back where it was. So I'm just going to undo that. For some reason it took me a really long time to undo that. Usually it's just one click, but I think it's because I moved a bunch of the colors. So you can undo and you can put it back where you wanted. But if I do, so let's say I wanted one of these colors to be darker, like the tint to be darker, you can come down here to this little, come down to the actual swatch down at the bottom and click on change tint, and you can make that darker or lighter. Okay, there's lots of things that you can do with this. You pretty much just have to play around with it. If you want to add a swatch, you can also do that. You just have to come to the last one that was created and put plus, and it'll add a swatch for you. You can also delete by using the garbage can. You can move these swatches around however you want by just grabbing the colors, moving them around. Okay, so once you have a color palette that you like, this isn't specifically one that I like, but this is where I'm at. You can download it by going up here to the download as JPEG, and once you download that, it'll go into your downloads. And I'm just going to slide mine onto the desktop so you can see it. I'm just going to slide it over there, and then I would put it, for our purposes, put it in my source files folder so I had it for later. So that's one way to create a color palette. You can also explore, so that means you could type in a color, you could type in a theme, like for, let's type winter night. It's going to come up with a whole bunch of palettes that are winter themed. Okay, there's one that's Christmassy, one that's kind of outdoorsy, wintry. So you can explore by and type in a theme and look for color palettes. You can also go to trends up here at the top, and it'll show you the latest trends for different things. So we have fashion, graphic design, Illustrator. Sometimes they'll have like palettes of the year or different things like that. I don't really work with these other too much, but I think libraries is where you would save your things, and lab, I'm not actually sure, but you can work with those three to create and find color palettes that you will enjoy. So the other one that I wanted to show you is Coolors, COOLORS.co. And sometimes I use these tools together. So this one, if you go up to Tools and you go to Palette Generator, and then actually, this would be a good one to start with. It just gives you random color palettes. If you push the space bar, it just takes you through different color palettes, okay? There's different options up here where you could view palette variations. Oops, that one you have to do there's a few things that you would have to go pro and have a subscription to use. So most of what I use for this is the palette generator, and I'll just hit the space bar to look at different palettes, but usually I'll find a color that I want to get started with, and the way that I do that is I'll come over here, and let's say I wanted to start with this fun green color, but I wanted to see what different color palettes the computer could come up with this green color. I'm just going to copy that green color. Did you see how I did that? I came down to the color swatch and I hovered over the number, and then I pushed copy. And then I'm going to come over here to create a palette, and I'm going to come down to this number, going to select it, I'm going to do Command V for paste, and it's going to paste that color from that color wheel. Now I'm going to lock this color by pushing this little lock, and then when I push spacebar, it's only going to change the remaining colors. Okay, so let's say I really like this gray. I'm going to keep that, and I'm looking for something that has some oranges in it, so I'm going to actually keep these two oranges. I kind of like this blue too, so I think I'll keep this blue. So I end up with this really neat color palette. I'm going to export this at the top as an image. I'm going to call this Fox. I'll show you why later. We're going to export that. It'll be up top, and take that over here and drag it to my desktop. So then what I'm going to do with those color palettes is I'm going to take them to Documents, Graphic Design, to my Illustrator Basics and my source files, and I'm going to stick those color palettes in here so that I can use them for a project. So again, just go play with these. The two websites are color.adobe.com. You just have to mess around in here with this and move colors around. You could also look up more tutorials if you want. Or to Coolors, COOLORS.com. You can bring a color in, and then push spacebar, and then just keep locking those as you go to create interesting color palettes. Okay, that is it.